Hey guys, I'm Ollie,
I'm Zen,
and we're the
and we're the
Invincibles.
Invincibles. All right.
There we go.
Woohoo, woohoo. All right, guys, we got a lot to talk about this week. Okay, first of all, thank you for tuning in for the last 2 weeks. It's been awesome. We're just kind of, especially at least for me, we're, getting, the ground under our feet, and we're just kind of going along with each episode and just having fun with it. So thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. This week we got a lot of cool topics. We're going to start out with some Mandalorian thoughts and theories and just, where the Star Wars franchise is going in terms of direction. Then we got The Last of Us, right? Ollie's going to break that down and just talk about his reviews because admittedly, I'm not caught up on the show's episodes, but I played the games, so Ollie, you watch the show, play the games. So we're going to be discussing that. And then, Ollie, do you want to talk about what the main attraction of today's show is?
Sort of going a bit more in depth on the Spider-Man news that Spider-Man's going to be the lead of Kang Dynasty, and we're going to be getting Spider-Man 4 before that. So just sort of delving into that a bit deeper than we did last week, and just giving our thoughts on MCU Spider-Man as a whole, really.
Yeah, man. So we got a lot. So let's dive into it, Ollie.
Mhm.
So Mando season 3, episode 1. Break it down for us.
So not a lot happens in terms of story. It's just sort of setting up what Mando's mission is going to be for this season. So he wants to redeem himself, um, to redeem himself to his sort of tribe of Mandalorians. The ones who never take the helmet off. He has to bathe in something called like the living waters or something. It's like underneath the surface of Mandalore, but everyone says they got destroyed in the purge, but apparently they still exist. So he's got to go. He's got to go to the surface of Mandalore. But everyone's saying, "Oh, you can't go there; it's uninhabitable." So he has to find. He has to fix IG-11. To fix IG-11, he has to find this part, and the episodes is just him starting that journey to find this part to fix this droid, so he can go to this place. It's pretty simple, but that's what the Mandalorian is really. It's a simple idea. He needs to, that's been the plot of each season. He has to find something to get him to the next place to complete his quest. It's just sort of setting that up. But there was one Easter egg in it, which if people have watched Star Wars Rebels, they'll be very very excited by. So when Ezra Bridger was in Star Wars Rebels, he sort of connected with like animals through the Force, and one of the animals he really connected with, I can't remember the name of them, but it's these massive like space whales that can travel through hyperspace. And when Mando and Grogu are traveling through hyperspace in this episode, you see the sort of a silhouette of these animals in as they're traveling through hyperspace. So that's sort of the first hint we've had of them in live action. So that's a little exciting Easter egg for what's probably going to be a big plot in the Ahsoka show of her looking to find Ezra. So that was exciting. That's probably the most one of the most exciting parts of this episode. Again, not much action. Probably like there's like one fight scene, and then one like space battle, but like not a major one. So Bo-Katan showed up, uh, saying like everyone who followed her has ditched her because she didn't win the dark saber back and things like that.
Well, she was also a horrible leader, but like that's the
Yeah.
thing.
um, but my main takeaway is it's good to see Mando and Grogu back really, and I'm just very excited for the rest of this season.
Okay, so real quick, so what was the stuff I saw on Twitter with Jon Favreau saying that by the end of Mandalorian, like the whole saga, it'll be like 2 years after The Force Awakens and right before The Last Jedi. Did you see that? Was
Oh
that
no, I
fake?
didn't. I didn't see that. I don't know
Okay,
if I've heard a lot of. There's been a lot of misunderstanding of something he said in an interview. So he said something about it's been 2 years since we last saw them. Some people took that to mean, oh, there's been a 2 year time jump, but he just meant it's been 2 years since the last series.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of confusion about something he said in an interview, but yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. So that was okay. All right. So sorry, audience. Don't mean to throw out misinformation. Just clarifying. But then also that like kind of brings a deeper question about the Mandalorian to you, right? Is um, like when Mandalorian first started out, what was kind of the charm of season one was that it was its own and self-enclosed story. And then kind of the brilliance of season two was that it started to connect to the greater outside Star Wars universe so that the possibilities were endless for storytelling, right? So Luke Skywalker, which to me, I love that finale. I know some people say that it's bad, fan service, but I love the finale of Luke Skywalker coming and saving Grogu. Like that is the perfect way to write it. It makes sense. Um, but then also in season two, you have a ton of cameos over and over and over again. Like, and to the point where the story was more about which character are we going to see next, right? Like you have, guys that I don't want to name, very big social media, people with a big, platform on social media who are Star Wars content creators who are saying they want General Grievous in every episode, Count Dooku in every episode. And that's kind of like what I'm asking you, bro, is do you feel like the Mandalorian has kind of become cameofied? Like the only reason people are watching it, the only reason there's hype is because of the Star Wars name attached alongside of a possibility of characters returning. Like, has the soul of the Mandalorian kind of been lost, or am I being overly critical right now?
There's always a danger of that happening in sort of in the world today because people are obsessed with just bringing back old characters. We see it all the time in wrestling, bringing back Goldberg all the time. But I think when characters like Boba Fett, like Luke Skywalker, Bo-Katan have showed up in Mandalorian, they've served a purpose in the story, and it's been executed very well. So as long as they keep doing that, which I've got faith that they will, because Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they understand Star Wars very well, and Dave Filoni is basically trained by George Lucas for this. Right. So I've got faith that that's not going to happen, because of just the way that the characters that came in we used last season, it just served the story so well. I think so. I'm pretty confident that it's gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, bro, I love Dave Filoni. He does a fantastic job with the Clone Wars. Has done a fantastic job with the Mandalorian. But then Dave Filoni also was involved with Book of Boba Fett, and that was a lot of my issue with Star Wars currently. It is cameo, and then the projects, like in a session of cameos, excuse me. But then the projects that are phenomenal, right? That are groundbreaking, right? Like for example, Andor, nobody talks about. So is it a situation where it's like you have to serve the story with as much cameos as possible because people won't buy it, people won't care about it that much then? Or because I feel like when I think of Mandalorian, right? Sorry to cut you off. When I think of Mandalorian, I think of scenes like season 2 when he took off his helmet, right, for Grogu, right, when Din took off his helmet, or when I think of in season 1 when he hated, like the IG unit at the beginning, and then towards the end, he was very sad to see IG unit, destroy itself, but it was a metaphor for himself as well. Like people can't change. Like I feel like season 1 was the most character, developing season for Mando, and then season 2 a lot of stuff was happening to him, right? And you saw him kind of weather the storm, for lack of a better purpose. But I feel like the most character moments and the most intimate times we've had with him was season 1, and season 2 was more like a roller coaster with iconic character moments like taking off the helmet. Last thing on Star Wars, what do you think, like season 3 is going to be? Do you think it's going to be a more personal, intimate story with Mando and Grogu, or do you think it's going to be a bit more Book of Boba Fett, Kang Dynasty, or not Kang Dynasty, but Quantumania? You know what I mean?
I think this season's going to be, it's going to be a very Mandalore focused season. because it'll be the first time we've seen characters visit the planet in live action. We've only seen it in like the Clone Wars and Rebels before. So I think it's going to be less of the cameos. And I think the Mandalorian as a character and Grogu as a character now, that because we've seen so much of them, so many people have watched them, that the show doesn't need the cameos to get those eyes on it anymore. Like Grogu sells. I would love to see the figures and the merch that they sell with him. But yeah, the story's going to be very Mandalorian centric, and from some of the teaser trailers, it looks like we might see a couple of flashbacks to Mandalore in the past as well, which is really interesting. So I think it's gonna deal a lot with Din's identity as a Mandalorian as well, which obviously has been a theme in the past 2 seasons, and it's been really building up to him sort of tackling what does it mean to be a Mandalorian. I think we're going to see sort of that come to a head in this season.
Okay, all right. So, all right, then I need to get on this episode as soon as possible. But all right, I'm glad that it will be a character-focused story because I don't want that to be lost, you know. But if we're talking about character-focused stories, right? Let's talk about The Last of Us, bro. Like you've been caught up, you're watching everything. Tell us what you think, especially from a perspective of, you know, this is your first real exposure to the world of Last of Us, right? You didn't play the games, but you're watching the show. Like, what are your thoughts, bro? Like, talk about everything and anything.
I watched so I played a bit of the second game, but like I stopped because I was really bad and I couldn't get past this one level, so I just quit. So before I played that, I watched like a YouTube recap of what happened in the first game. Can't really remember much of what happened, but so this is my first real experience with the characters, and I think the first season so far for me, I'd say it's probably on par with like season 1 of The Walking Dead. I think it's that good, and they've really done a good job of making I know the creators don't like to call them zombies, but let's call them zombies. Yeah. They've done a good job of making them feel genuinely scary because obviously they've nailed the look. They look absolutely perfect. And the way they built up sort of the fungus sort of disease, which I think apparently is slightly different to the game.
Yeah, like they have like the little like antler, or not antler thing. Yeah, like it's pretty much like a tripwire, right? Like if you touch like a tendril of the fungus, then all the zombies will
they're all connected.
Yeah, and then they're gonna rush at you. It's like AWA but zombified.
Yeah.
Literally.
I like that.
No, literally it's AWA from Avatar but zombified.
What I like is you don't actually see that much of the zombies. Like some episodes, I think in most recent, sorry, the episode before the most recent one, I don't think you see a single zombie, like at all in the whole episode. So when those moments when you do see the zombies and they're running, because those zombies are rapid, like when you see them running, it makes it even more intense. So I really like that about it. And again, Pedro Pascal, we just talked about Mandalorian. I think he's brilliant. He's obviously I didn't get to see much of it. Sorry, spoilers for Last of Us 2. I didn't get to see much of Joel when I played the second game because he fucking dies. Yeah. So this is my first experience with that character, and I think he's brilliant. Bella Ramsey is incredible.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
So obviously I got a bit more time with her in the second game because she's like the main protagonist in that, and yeah, Bella Ramsey absolutely nails the role of Ellie. Yeah. In my opinion. And it's exciting to see an actual really good video game adaptation for once because they don't happen all that often.
Yeah. The only real ones I think of is the Sonic ones. The upcoming Mario one looks pretty good, but we'll see. And then this. There
Yeah.
has to be one I know for a fact we're missing.
Oh, there's a Dungeons and Dragons. That's not really a video game adaptation, though, is it?
No, it's like the board game.
Yeah,
Um,
still looks good though.
yeah, yeah. It looks like a generic like Dollar Tree movie, bro. I don't know.
Hey, it's got Michelle Rodriguez. I'll watch it.
Okay, all right. Fair enough. No, bro. I think especially when you look at the character of Joel for Last of Us, I feel like Pedro Pascal plays a more human and a more vulnerable and a not soft negatively, but a more tender, vulnerable aspect of Joel Miller versus in the video game, he is a hardened killer. Like there isn't really like, and he is that in the game or in the show, but you have scenes such as in episode 3 when Bill wrote the letter to Joel saying, you know, hey, like we need to fight for people, and Frank was my person, and that kind of was the spark for him to be motivated or be courageous enough to take that jump with Ellie and take on that father figure role, even though he didn't really want to admit that. Um, I think the show illustrates those scenes with more nuance than the game could, because the point of video games, number one, is gameplay, right? If the gameplay isn't fun, I don't care about the story, right?
Yeah.
And that is the priority of the game. So the fact that the game tied fantastic gameplay with fantastic writing is kudos to them. But I like how the show is adding more nuance in scenes where we couldn't necessarily get them in the game, probably because of budget and stuff like that. I also appreciate the fact that the show changes up a lot of stuff from the game, right? So you have Bill dying with Frank, who was in love with him, in their arms on their bedside, and that was very powerful and very romantic, and not a lot of darkness was in their life in that episode. Versus in the game, Bill finds his ex-lover Frank in another house where he hung himself, and he wrote a letter to Bill. Yeah, bro, he wrote a letter to Bill saying, I truly despised you. I only stayed with you for all those years just so I could have food and warm water. I got bit and I'm going to hang myself, and I want you to know I truly hated those years of my life. Like something horrible like that.
Oh my
And
god.
yeah, and so Bill in the game is very bitter, very he's like that grumpy old troll, like and he's very like just very like a dick, for lack of better terms. Very disrespectful to Ellie, making fun of Joel. Like there's a scene where Joel's like, I came here because I need a car. So Bill has a panic attack and he was like, so let me go across town just so Joel needs a car. Hey Ellie, we're gonna go fight a lot of infected because Joel needs a car. Let's go help Joel because Joel needs a car. Like it's just, he kept repeating it. It was so funny because he had a panic attack, but he owed Joel and Joel needed a car. Versus in the show, it was like, hey, here's my nice van, take it, So sorry, I just went off on a tangent. But you said, because this is important, right? Bella Ramsey's getting a lot of hate online. You said like you haven't had a lot of exposure with the character of Ellie, but you find Bella Ramsey's performance, like you said, she nailed it. What about her performance as somebody who is completely neutral with no, outside perspectives, just walking into the show? What is it about her performance that just resonates with you, somebody from the outside now into the world of Last of Us?
She's playing what I'd imagine a real human teenager would be like in that exact situation. Like she was born in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, so she didn't really get brought up normally. Obviously the parents died, and she's she's very sassy. She's got an attitude, which is exactly what a 14-year-old human girl would be like under those circumstances. So it just feels very real, I'd say. Obviously, it's a situation hopefully we'll never be in. So we'll never really know. But it's exactly what I'd imagine a sassy 14-year-old girl would be like under the circumstances. So yes, a very real performance, I'd say.
Okay, well, you heard it here, trolls. Like, stop hating on Bella Ramsey. Like, she is a fantastic actress, especially
Mm,
also with her work on Game of Thrones. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, nothing but respect to her, bro.
Also, if you don't enjoy it, don't watch it. Simple as that.
Facts, like, and it's just weird. Like, we live in a society where like people have no problem with showing extreme graphic violence, but you show like LGBTQ people on screen and you start losing your minds. It's really embarrassing. But
Yeah.
um, you
Yeah.
know, on a not nearly on a serious level as that, but another thing that's been embarrassing online is the discourse about Spider-Man, specifically the MCU Spider-Man, bro. And when we got the news all over from My Time to Shine, hello, um, Twitter account, she's a reliable leaker. Um, she she said, "Hey, Tom Holland Spider Man is going to be the lead role in Avengers Kang Dynasty." She didn't say anything about Secret Wars. She also, a correction from last week, and last week I said Spider Man 4 will come out before Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. All she has said is it will come out before Secret Wars. So it is
Oh, right.
possible that we could get Spider Man 4 after Kang Dynasty, which I highly doubt.
Ooh.
I highly doubt that. But I just want to make that correction for everybody. But yeah, so Spider-Man, it's an annoying discourse with the MCU, bro. Like with the fans online, especially with that bozo JGK. Thank God he's finally down. Just creating hate for MCU Spider-Man. He's Iron Boy Jr. This and the third, and so I feel like he's a character where you can never win, and that's kind of funny because it's emblematic of the character with how he's been written, especially recently with editorial. You can never win. He went from being an Iron Man sidekick, which I do agree with. There is some merit to that. And we're going to talk about that. He went from being Spider-Man's protege, for lack of better terms, to leading the Avengers potentially. We'll see, or not leading the Avengers, but being a brand to headline the Avengers. He went from a supporting brand to the brand, and fans are still mad about that. They're still mad, especially when, like, why would you not do that? Spider-Man No Way Home broke box office records during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah. If No Way Home had like come out during the time where obviously it wasn't in a pandemic, if it come out just a year, 2 years later, and it had been released in China, because remember it wasn't released in China, it very well could have got Endgame level box office numbers.
And it deserved it.
So with Spider-Man at the helm of an Avengers movie on the scale of Kang Dynasty, that it's just a no-brainer. It's gonna make so much money.
Yeah.
So why not do it?
And to all the haters, and we'll talk about comic book accuracy real quick. We'll talk about story arcs. We'll talk about what the character should do or should not do, the MCU discourse. We'll talk about all of that. But before we get to that, like, when you look at the character of Spider-Man, why else are majority of us Marvel fans? Like,
Yeah.
like let's keep it real. Like, to bring another analogy in here, right? Why else would you not be a Liverpool fan if it wasn't for Steven Gerrard?
Yes.
Why
Yes.
would I not be a Cavs fan if it wasn't for LeBron James? Like, the same thing. Why would I not be a Marvel fan? Like, it's because of Spider-Man. He is their biggest star. He is their biggest brand. If Spider-Man was at DC, I don't know about you, but I would be at DC. I would probably be covering most DC stuff. It's not because we love Marvel so much and, where our brains are turned off. No, it's because we love Marvel because of Spider-Man. That is, that's Ryan Otley, like Robert Kirkman. He's written some issues for Spider-Man as well, and they both worked on Invincible and Spider-Man. Like, we love Spider-Man. Like, that's our character. And so when you look at a lot of the direction, or excuse me, a lot of discourse of the fans, there's this constant nagging where they like expect everything has to be a one-to-one comic book accuracy. And that's really annoying because, one, you can't have any new fresh ideas or any fresh ways of implementing old ideas, right? Like, I'll give you an example. If you had a one-to-one comic book accuracy, you would not have the arguably one of the best intros of comic book movie history, Batman versus Superman. Like, that intro is fire.
Yeah.
But if they did a one-to-one comic book accuracy, you wouldn't have that, because you would expect the same comic book paneling art, you would expect the same angles, you would expect the same dialogue, you would expect the same tone, you would expect the same feel of a story, right? Like every story is like a living animal. It has its own personality. It acts in certain ways. It has a feel to it. If you copy that one to one, I might as well just save my money and my time and just read the comic, which did it better and first already.
Yeah.
The point of film is to reinvent stuff. You got what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of these Spider-Man fans just drive me insane with these, constant nitpicks like, oh, MCU Spider-Man, they'll never get it right. Oh, he went from having too much suits to now leading the Avengers. He should be leading the Fantastic Four. Why would he lead the Fantastic Four? Why would he be part of the Fantastic Four? Like, I'm not trying to be upset right now, but why? The Fantastic Four and Spider-Man are a better team in the comics. Yes, I agree. 9 times out of 10, yes. But he has more of a connection to the Avengers with Doctor Strange, with the legacy of Tony Stark, with how he looked up to Bruce Banner, with how he looks up or not looks up to, but his banter and his history with Bucky and Falcon, and now he'll be Falcon, or Falcon's now Captain America. He has those ties to the Avengers. He doesn't have those ties to the Fantastic Four. In the comics, he had more of those ties to the Fantastic Four than the Avengers. So do these fans who keep saying, oh, he really should be with the Fantastic Four. One, who's to say he's not? And then two, how does that make any logical sense?
The Fantastic Four aren't established yet in the MCU, so yeah, it makes no sense for them to do that.
And it's like Spider-Man, he doesn't have a history with Johnny Storm yet. Like, maybe they do it in Spider-Man 4. Maybe they do it in Secret Wars. Who knows? But he has no connection to anybody. Quite literally, at the end of No Way Home, it is a reboot. It is a refresh. He is Spider-Man now, And so anything is possible. But it's just really annoying with this character. I just had to get that off my chest, bro. Like, as Spider-Man fans, we got Spider-Man No Way Home. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got Spider-Man No Way Home, which was arguably one of the biggest movies of all time, and it is a comic book accurate and a love letter to everything Spider-Man, especially that ending, especially that scene with all the 3 Spider-Men swinging, especially that scene with Tom, telling Zendaya or MJ, no, I don't have anything to say, see you later, when he could have told her, because great power comes great responsibility, the memory scene. So much great moments, and now he's being the face of the Avengers, even though he might not lead the team, but just like Captain America was the leader, but Iron Man was the face.
Yeah.
Whoever leads the Avengers, it doesn't matter who it is, but Spider-Man is the face of that. I don't see the problem with that.
No, like, it makes so much sense, and yeah, you can have him as the main character in the film and not lead the Avengers. It would be cool if he was leading the Avengers, but if he's not, the film could, like, the first half an hour of it, however long it could be him, like, I think I mentioned this last week, could be him, like, traversing the multiverse, sort of maybe a mini sort of Spider-Verse type thing, which audiences are used to now, by the way, after Into the Spider-Verse, like the animated films. So audiences are used to the idea of Spider-Man traveling the multiverse. So it makes sense from a story perspective because of those possibilities, and makes sense from, like, a marketing perspective for obvious reasons. But where do you think they go with the story for Kang Dynasty then, if he's the main character?
I think in terms of, like, the story of Kang Dynasty, I don't know. I think it's important to kind of look at who's directing the film. So, for example, Destin Daniel Cretton who was the director, and I'm not sure if he was the writer, but he was definitely the director of Shang-Chi. He is going to be directing Avengers Kang Dynasty. Now, what's interesting to note is Shang-Chi 2, which I assume that, Destin Daniel Cretton will be back to direct. He said that Shang-Chi 2 will have some deal with the variants of Kang as kind of like a part of the story. I don't know if it's a main villain, but definitely part of a major part of the story. So Destin's probably going to have a strong idea of where he wants Kang to go in the story and how involved he wants Kang to be in the story. He has said in the past that Spider-Man is his favorite character. And that's why I'm also not surprised that Spider-Man is going to be the main character in the Avengers movie he's directing. So, in terms of the story, my perspective is that Peter Parker probably will never take his mask off, will not show his secret identity. I think his mask is going to be on for the most part. I know Marvel and Disney kind of likes to have, their main actors have their faces out for branding purposes to sell more toys, but Spider-Man's mask itself sells. And we all know Tom Holland is Spider-Man now, and No Way Home has established him because, to go off on a small tangent, I mean, No Way Home, bro, not only did it kind of bring back Toby and Andrew and kind of give us that ultimate fan service, but it did it in a way that made character sense, right? They were brought in to help a Peter Parker who was on the same character path as them, but will hopefully not suffer the same mistakes that they did because they didn't have other older Peter Parkers to help them out. So it's like a really beautiful family story in a way, like a coming of age type of story. And on top of being a coming of age story for Peter Parker, and kind of realizing that even doing the right thing takes sacrifice, right? Because you look at No Way Home, he started it off, trying to get the whole world to forget who he is so that his friends can get into college. That was his motivation, so that, the press can stop harassing his aunt. That was the motivation. But even in doing that, people got hurt. So it wasn't about trying to be more responsible. It was about realizing that even good intentions will be punished. And that's just life, and you have to roll with it. That's the brilliance of No Way Home. And so many people miss that. And it's really frustrating. But we should do a whole episode on No Way Home, bro. Like maybe a Marvel Interactive. Hey, let us know, guys. Let us know if you guys want to see that, where we just talk about a movie for a whole episode. We could do that. But I think in terms of like the story, I think we would have a stronger idea post Thunderbolts, right? Like, because I feel like a lot of the ground level stuff has been tied with, like the super soldier serum, with the rumor that the Celestial from Eternals has vibranium, so that's why the governments of the world want, the Thunderbolts to grab it, or not the governments, but the United States wants them to grab it before the other governments do. So it's really kind of in flux because Phase 4, there was a lot of character development, styles, experimentation, and a Loki drop of, Kang is coming. So, and then in Phase 5, I mean, I still haven't watched Ant-Man because I watched all of the scenes on YouTube. I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that movie. Like,
you don't
I'm
need
not.
to.
Like, I'm not watching a movie with MODOK. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not watching a movie where the dialogue is literally, it's not too late to be a dick. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not watching that crap. I'm not watching that garbage, bro. Like,
there's one thing I forgot to tell you about that film, by the way. So, the Quantum Realm, they speak like this weird alien language. And to be able to understand that, they have to drink goo from like a massive jelly baby, basically.
Yeah, I'm not watching not watching that trash. In a world where the Batman exists and No Way Home exists and Wakanda Forever and Shang-Chi and the Dark Knight, and I'm not saying they're all on the same level, but I'm saying all of them are on different levels, all of which require my brain to be functional a bit. That is not the same for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, bro. Like, and I feel so bad for Jonathan Majors, but that movie was garbage. That movie is trash. Like, sorry. I know I'm about to get roasted. Everybody's like, you didn't even watch it. I'm not watching a movie that is designed for adult children. Sorry. Sorry. I know that's ironic.
Fair enough. That's completely fair.
I know that's ironic because we love Invincible and Star Wars and WWE, but I feel like a lot of that type of stuff insults the comic book medium, right? Like a lot of the MCU movies is, oh, did we just do that? Or, oh, that's stupid. Or, oh my God, that costume is that. Or, oh, that looks ugly. And it's a lot of poking fun at the comic book medium. And that pisses me off to no end. Like, just take it seriously. Like, come on. Like, let's get more Sam Raimi in here. Let's get more, Destin Daniel Cretton or Ryan Coogler type of influence, like even John Watts, like, because I love Homecoming, but Yeah, bro, off on a tangent. Sorry, but yeah, not too sure about the story, but I can pretty much guarantee you that the Fantastic Four are probably not gonna play a part in this. When Jeff Loveness says that he's not even thinking about the Fantastic Four, I believe him. You know, they'll probably show up in Secret Wars, but yeah, I believe that. I think we'll definitely see Kang wipe out, you know, major governmental forces. You know, I could definitely see him wipe out Talocan or something like that, and then we get Namor have a big part to play in the story. But I definitely think, above all, no matter what they're doing, the Avengers or whatever, Peter Parker will probably be used, literary wise. Will probably, or you know, in this, you know, sorry, my brain is frazzled. What do you say? Like, in terms of the literary device, there we go, the word. He will be used as the everyday man, right? Like, his perspective will probably be used as the guy on the ground, and all this crazy galactic, you know, world-ending events are transpiring around him, and he's just kind of like the guy who's trying his best to keep it together, right? He's the emotional anchor for us. Spider-Man will be the emotional anchor for us. That's probably how he's going to be used. Action wise, I think it's going to be the best Avengers movie ever. You know, look at the action in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Now imagine the Way of the Spider adapted in this movie.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, just adding to what you said there, do you think Destin Daniel Cretton could direct Spider-Man 4?
Do I think he should? Yeah. Do I think he could?
will?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he could with the workload, bro. I mean, you have to.
Oh, Marvel doesn't care about that.
We'll give him another project. Like, you know, we'll just slap a couple more million. Who cares? But no. Also, you got to keep in mind you have to work with Sony.
Yeah.
And I'm very surprised that Spider-Man is the main character in an Avengers movie because of Sony. I think in terms of the character arc of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, it makes total sense. He went from a boy to a man. He went from having everything to losing nothing and still coming up on top and saving the multiverse by making the ultimate sacrifice. He did spiritually a lot of ways for the multiverse what Tony Stark did for the universe in Endgame with what he did in No Way Home. So I think his character arc totally flows to be the main character of Kang Dynasty. But to be clear, I don't think he's going to be the leader. I think he could maybe have moments where he, you know, inspires the team and is like the emotional leader. Sure. I don't see him going up to Sam Wilson. Okay, we need you to go over there. Hulk, I need you to go over there. Shang-Chi, Moon Knight, I need you to go over there. I don't see that. I think Spider-Man will be more of like to use a sports analogy, you have Liverpool and then you have Luis Suarez. Suarez isn't the leader, but he's definitely the best player on the team.
Yeah.
That's probably Spider-Man. He's not the leader, but he's the main character, and he's definitely going to get the best action scenes. Is definitely going to get the best story bits. Is definitely going to get the best acting, like dialogue and everything, you know. That's kind of what
I can see it being sort of a similar idea to the first Avengers movie where, like, Captain America, but this time it's going to be Sam Wilson's Captain America telling everyone where to go. And then, you know, the scene where Iron Man, he flies in with the massive, what's it called? The massive alien thing, the flying one.
The whale thing, yeah.
Yeah, so he flies in with that. He's like, I'm bringing the party to you. I can imagine a similar scene where Spider-Man swings around with some massive alien following him, and you know, sort of echoing that, because he's playing that type of, like we've said, it'll be like the Iron Man. He's like the main character, but not the leader.
Mm-hmm. And I think Spider-Man being leader of the Avengers kind of wouldn't really fit. Like I could maybe see like Carol getting killed or something, and Falcon getting killed, and then he asks to step up, maybe that, but. Spider-Man is not a character where he's like the leader of the Avengers. He is a solo act. So yeah, I mean, I definitely, and I would love to see that because I want to see the MCU have more cameos and throwbacks to their past, not necessarily to Marvel comics, but I want to see more throwbacks to their past. What makes the MCU unique? Like for example, I think it's a missed opportunity in Avengers Endgame where Tony Stark wasn't reminded of Yinsen. like the bald dude from the
Yeah.
cave, where he was like, "Don't waste your life." You know what I mean? Like, don't
Oh
waste your life.
yeah.
I still think that's a missed opportunity, and maybe it's possible the actor Sean, I forget his last name. It's possible that he legally contractually couldn't come back because he was doing something else, and he probably didn't want to compromise a job for a cameo.
Yeah.
Um, maybe, but if they could have done it, they should have done it. I still think that's a missed opportunity because that is what kicked off the MCU, that sacrifice, right? Where
Yeah.
he saved Tony. Um, so I think moments like that, like throwbacks like that, like I want to see more from the MCU. Like I still think Endgame has the strongest ending to a comic book saga ever
Oh yeah.
because that Captain America ending with Peggy, them dancing, it fits canonically and it fits the character arc.
Hmm.
Like so you can't you just can't beat that finality. You can't just beat the level of detail and attention that went into that ending, right? They really did their due diligence. um so I can see that same level of writing in Kang Dynasty for sure, and Destin Daniel Cretton is going to bring that energy, especially with Shang-Chi, how he dealt with the family dynamic of Shang-Chi and his dad. It was very serious, but it wasn't
Hmm.
what you thought, right? Like the evil father who's overbearing. That's not that at all. It was more of the father who wants his family together. So I couldn't see um, him doing a fantastic job with making Kang, who was already an established villain,
Hmm.
even all the more iconic when you have the likes of Thanos. But here's my question to you, bro. Who is going to be the main villain of Kang Dynasty, and how do you think that will tie in with Spider-Man's dynamic? You know what I'm saying? Because
Um,
I don't think Kang is dead in Quantumania.
it's well, the post-credit scene of Quantumania confused me a bit. So there's all these weird different versions of Kang, um, and it wasn't really made clear which one of them was like the leader,
Yeah,
which yeah was a bit weird. So I think it's gonna be like a situation where kind of there's not really a clear villain for like the first half, just stuff's going on, and then one variant of Kang, the most dominant one however, will come in halfway through.
mm.
Or you never know, they might just start off with Kang just like killing a bunch of motherfuckers.
Here's what here's a huge question, right? Especially with Spider-Man. Sony letting Marvel, and Marvel can do whatever they want with their character, but this is also dangerous for Marvel, right? Because Sony could be like, "Thank you, just gave us free advertising for our character. We're not gonna do Spider-Man, Spider-Man 5 with you guys, Spider-Man 6 with you guys." Because my knowledge, from my understanding, it's every movie is a case by case thing. That's my understanding.
Mhm.
I could be completely wrong. Maybe they did a multi-year agreement when they came back after Far From Home. I'm not too sure, but I think when you look at Sony letting Marvel being courageous enough, excuse me, to use Spider-Man in that capacity when Sony could pull the plug and take the character back at any moment and they can't use that main character again.
Mhm.
One, that brings to me two things. One, Marvel has a clear out for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. They probably have a character arc already written out for him where Tom is going to leave the character either through death of Peter Parker or retirement, something like that. Or number two, um, Sony is once in more with the MCU, where
Mhm.
Sony's probably like, okay, we'll stay with the MCU. We make more money with you guys. You can use our IP, whatever. But then we want to be involved with everything MCU, not just Spider-Man. So we want a piece of Kang Dynasty. We want a piece of Secret Wars. We want our stories to be interlocked with that. Like I could see that. So my question is, do you see Madam Web, the events of Madam Web, tying into Kang Dynasty, or not in a major way, but enough to where you see a cameo, enough to where you hear dialogue, enough to where you see a major character moment that you would only understand if you watched that movie.
I think so. With especially after the post-credit scene of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, when he literally turns up in the MCU. I
Yeah.
think that opened the door possibly for other stuff like that in Sony films. Um, So I do see it linking in some way to maybe not Kang Dynasty, maybe to Spider-Man 4, but I do definitely think it'll link in some way. I don't really know how, but um, yeah, we'll do it in some capacity.
Here's how I would pitch it if that was the case. What if Kang was like, you live in a reality where you don't have an Uncle Ben because I that was my choice. Like somehow, I know it's terribly written. I know that makes no sense. Why would Kang the Conqueror care about Ben Parker out of all people? Like, I get that. Like, I know it doesn't make any sense, but what I'm saying is maybe Kang says, I'm withholding parts of your life, right? Which are the more Spider-Man esque aspects of Peter Parker's life. For example, his characterization, for example, like some relationships that have been not explored yet, such as Felicia Hardy or his Ben Parker or whatever. Maybe that hasn't happened yet because Kang meddled with the past that didn't allow those events to transpire. So you have an in-universe canon reason as to why the writers couldn't cover the topics that we as the audience wanted for so long.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That is good.
Something like that. And it doesn't have to be a major part of the story, because I think in an Avengers movie, it's stupid to, again, make a major part about it, Ben Parker. I do agree with that. But, just a dialogue, like, hey, like, do you want to see more of your spider brethren? And then you see Shamik Moore in live action and Into the Spider-Verse,
yes. Yes.
just that. Or Tom Hardy's Venom, but with the white spider insignia across his chest, and then Kang like closes the vision or something.
So do you think that the whole Kang stuff, the whole Secret Wars multiverse stuff, is how they could maybe begin to start the exit of Tom Holland from the MCU by maybe introducing Miles Morales?
I don't know. Tom Holland is a moneymaker, bro. And I know all these actors say, I don't want to do this forever, but nobody wants to be broke. And they say no to more money, right? Hugh Jackman, for all those years, says, I'm done. I did Logan, finality on the character, done. And then Disney said, hey, here's some money. And now he's back,
Yeah.
So I think that, money talks and people walk, and I think, Tom Holland, if he continues to be, and I don't see why he wouldn't be, but if Tom Holland continues to be that major financial puller, as well as being that iconic, fantastic, comic book accurate Spider-Man, I think, people will absolutely continue to watch his movies, and there isn't a real reason for them to quit their partnership or quit making those movies. The only thing at that point would be Tom Holland's desire to see a more character-driven angle for the use of the character. And there is evidence to that, because Tom Holland personally himself wrote the ending of No Way Home. The original ending of No Way Home was that everybody knew who Peter Parker was, but Peter came to accept that new reality and change the world, and that's how we would be inspiring. Tom Holland said, no, screw that. We're not doing that. He needs a secret identity. We want to see, Tom himself said, I want to see darker Spider-Man stories. I wanted to see Kraven the Hunter. These are his words. He said he wanted to see Kraven the Hunter, but what he got from No Way Home was fantastic. But originally he was really excited for Kraven the Hunter. He definitely did not want to redo the origin story again, all over again. Yeah. If you look at a lot of the press for No Way Home post the release of the movie, everybody said this was the movie where he finally became a Spider-Man. So even Tom Holland and John Watts himself acknowledged that Far From Home, albeit was enjoyable, didn't do much for the character development of Peter Parker. I look at it as Homecoming, the events of the Infinity War saga, which is Infinity War, Endgame, and Far From Home, all as one movie, and then you have No Way Home. And that character arc is perfectly from a boy who wants to be a superhero because he truly loves superheroism, and that's what he wants to do with his heart. He has this altruism that is so pure that a lot of us have as kids, but we lose as adults because of the events of Infinity War and No Way Home. And you apply that metaphorically to your life, and you can see kind of, we would also be in an emotional place where Tom Holland was in No Way Home, but yet he persevered. He kept that childlike joy in his heart, and that's what Spider-Man is. You look at J. Michael Straczynski's Spider-Man Run. That's who he is. You look at Robert Kirkman's Spider-Man Single Issues. That's who Spider-Man is. Stan Lee. That's who Spider-Man is. Like, he has that childlike, endearing joy and hope and optimism that the world will get better. So I say all of that to say, when we look at where this saga is going to go, right? Because you said, are they going to write him out? That's kind of where it has to go. The story has went from, I want to be an Avenger, and at the end of No Way Home, he's very clearly, I'm my own man now, right? You have that character angle that I was talking about. So if they're going to write him out, Peter has to come to a resolution where he doesn't have to be Spider-Man anymore, or he dies.
Yeah. And
I think you should die. And I really hope nobody takes that clip and posts it on Twitter and says he hopes Tom Holland dies. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I mean. I think Peter Parker and the MCU should. God, I sound morbid, but I think he should be killed.
Well, that's how they did it in the Ultimate Universe in the comics, isn't it? And that works very well for that story.
I think. Sorry, what were you saying, bro?
No, I was done.
No, I'm saying also, audience, I talk way too much, so I'm sorry. Please let me know in the comments. Like, no, but I argue that Ultimate Spider-Man is the best characterization of Peter Parker, but it is not the best run of Spider-Man stories. I feel like Peter Parker's characterization, Brian Michael Bendis' writing of Peter Parker, is so strong that it carries a lot of the issues, because some of the issues, especially when you get to like the clone arc, which I wasn't a big fan of, or the Sinister Six, or a lot of the Oscorp angle with the Hobgoblin and Green Goblin and the super serum of making Hulk like a Hulk like Green Goblin that shoots fire out of his hands. It was cool. And Ultimate Spider-Man is the only thing good out of that edgy ass universe. Ultimate Spider-Man and Miles Morales, like, they make Hank Pym a woman beater and a sexual assaulter, and Captain America hates skinny men, and
made Black Widow and Tony Stark have a sex tape.
Yeah, right. Like, the Ultimate Universe was god awful. The only things good out of that is the Maker, Ultimate Reed Richards. That is good. The Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales. And then also Jonathan Hickman is writing the Ultimate Universe again. The Ultimate Universe is coming back in Marvel Comics, so I'm super excited for that. But no, I think if they write out the character, it's got to be a death, because that's the only way I see it. Tom Holland is still young; he's our age. Yeah. These movies take a while to make, and they take a toll on you. So 3 more Spider-Man movies in his own saga, and then 2 more Avengers movies, 3 more Avengers movies, maybe a Fantastic Four appearance. That'll take him up to 35 years old, maybe, right? Yeah. Does he still want to keep doing Spider-Man movies? Maybe. I think it'd be awesome to see a Spider-Man who's 40 years old live action. But I could definitely see Tom Holland not wanting to do that anymore, and I could see the audience being fatigued by that. So, but if you look at the character arc, right? A lot of the MCU hasn't been your classic secret identity 9-to-5 superhero, right? It's typically been a destiny, or you have a billionaire fortune or something like that. But typically it's not your average person. The only average person stories you get are Ant-Man and Spider-Man, right? Maybe Doctor Strange if you wanted to pull that, but he's a billionaire, or he was a millionaire surgeon. Yeah. But you know what I mean, right? Like, typically it was like a destiny was handed to them, or they were a leader or something. So I think when you look at Spider-Man and you look at his angle and what he provides for the MCU, it is that fresh angle, right? That when Spider-Man first came to the MCU, I was excited to see his world bring some freshness to the MCU. So when I saw a lot of Spider-Man growing and developing in a world already established, I'll admit I was a bit turned off. I wanted more Spider-Man classic-centric story arcs in Homecoming, but we already got those, and you have to reinvent stuff. And No Way Home is the perfect culmination of ending of a childhood into adulthood. So, I mean, I really think that's it. I mean, I don't know what you... but I think that's the way. I think Spider-Man 6 is probably going to be a death. And then you have Miles Morales live action.
I can't wait for Miles Morales live action.
Yeah,
It's gonna
I
be
just
so
hope
good.
I just hope they give Miles the same gravitas and treatment that Peter Parker gets.
I think if they're gonna kill Peter off, then they've got to, don't they? Because
Hmm.
then it'll be the face of live action Spider-Man. Will be
Yeah.
Miles. So yeah, they've got to. Going back to what you're saying about Spider-Man, then I think that's another reason why he's such a good choice to be the main character of Kang Dynasty, because the story of Kang Dynasty is basically, it's not going to be relatable to audiences at all. It's some weird sci-fi alien multiverse thing. So to have such probably the most relatable comic book character of all time as the focus of that, it, you know what I mean? It makes it so much better for the audience, um, which is a very, very wise storytelling decision, I think.
I agree, bro. And I think when you look at, like, again, like Spider-Man in an Avengers movie, you're gonna make $1 billion, so it makes sense character-wise. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we've wanted to see as Spider-Man fans. We wanted a more assertive Spider-Man, a more seasoned Spider-Man. You cannot tell me he's not going to be a major asset. The boy fought against Thanos. He's going to help out against Kang. And
Mm.
yo, what if Kang the Conqueror killed Toby and Andrew Spider-Man?
Oh,
And that is Tom Holland Spider-Man's motivation for getting the black suit on Battle World and Secret Wars.
I think we've just written the perfect script there.
I mean that is,
I
bro. Think
want to
about it.
see that now.
Yeah, I mean, and you could like make that like a major part of the story, right? Like you have Toby, you have the classic like the Toby
Mm.
music, you have the Andrew music, maybe Tom Holland Spider-Man is dispatched or something, like he's trapped under rubble or something like that, or he's trapped in a time loop. I don't know, something like he's incapacitated. You think Toby and Andrew are gonna stop Kang, and then Kang puts the beating on them and then maybe kills Toby and Andrew in front of Tom.
Oh,
And
that would
it
be
mirrors
brutal.
Thor and Loki and Thanos from Infinity War.
Yeah. Oh my god, that would be heartbreaking.
And it would
That's the perfect way to do it, though.
subvert fan theories, because everybody's saying we want to see Toby and Hugh together as Spider-Man and Wolverine. Screw that. Don't give every fan theory. Don't give into every cameo like request, Give enough so we're excited. Give enough so we don't expect everything. Right? That's how I would do it. Is maybe Toby tells Andrew to run, right? And Andrew runs and he still gets killed or something. Like a scene like X-Men Days of Future Past,
Mm.
but replace the Sentinels with Kang and replace the
Oh,
mutants with Toby and Andrew, and Kang waxes them. And
that
then
is
Tom
so good.
and then you have a reason for Tom having the black suit on Secret Wars,
Mm-hmm.
and Toby and Andrew not being like, or Toby specifically not being like, why are you wearing that? Like, you should not be wearing
Mm.
that. Well,
Yeah.
he's dead. And it would be a sick twisted irony that the thing that corrupted Toby is the thing that will help Tom avenge Toby.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that
And
a
you could
lot.
deal with the fallout of the black suit in Spider-Man 5.
Yeah. Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, because that would be such an interesting way to lead into Spider-Man 5 as well. Um. So after that, that'll be when sort of, if the Sonyverse is integrating with the MCU, that'll be when that'll be after Madam Web. That'll be after Kraven the Hunter. So if they are integrating them a little bit, um, that would be very exciting for Spider-Man 5.
I mean, bro, like if we're gonna have Tom Holland be the main lead, we might as well give him like an iconic scene that you can't see coming.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I wasn't looking forward to the future MCU after I saw Quantumania, but this Spider-Man stuff has just got me so excited again.
Bro, like I said, bro, like you can have mid Marvel movies You just need one good Spider-Man movie. That's all you need. That is all you need. And we're back in it. Like,
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man carries Marvel. Even when Marvel's having a great year, Spider-Man will still lead that. Like, unfortunately, I wish the comics were like that. I never thought I would. I never thought I would live in a world where the movies are leading the comics in terms of how you should take the character. Um, but yeah, no, you know, Rogers out, or not Rogers out, but Nick Lowe out, Nick Lowe out. you know,
I asked. So I shop at Forbidden Planet for my comic books, right? It's like the biggest comic book shop chain in the UK, and it must have been like a year ago now. I went in to collect my comics, and I said to him, I handed back Amazing Spider-Man. I was like, "Can you just take that off the list for me, please? Don't hold them for me anymore."
that is funny, bro. No, I have an issue. Fun fact: I have an issue. It's either of a Moon Knight comic issue or Amazing Spider-Man issue, but it is in my apartment. Literally, I held it, and I think it was Amazing Spider-Man. But you know how like they'll have the editorial news write-ins at the end of every issue, so you can write in and talk about what you. So this one dude said he literally wrote that. How do you feel about Moon Knight outselling Amazing Spider-Man? And it was some dude who lived in Berea, Ohio, who collected Kid Force, who went to Kid Force Collectibles Comics, because that's where he wrote from. That's where he put in his name bio, and that's the same store I went to for a long, long time getting my comic books.
Wow.
So I'm like, bro, some dude in Ohio who lives in my same city thinks the same way that we do. Like, it's just crazy.
Wow,
like so many people around the world are not happy with Spider-Man's editorial.
Mm-hmm.
How do they not see it?
It's just been it's a kind of problem we have when it gets a new writer like sometimes every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't get much time, and also all the ideas have been bad. The last time I was truly interested in Spider-Man comics was when it was coming up to it was probably about 10 years ago now, when it was coming up to issue 700. Superior Spider-Man started. I know that's a very divisive run, but that was the last time it was truly exciting and interesting. It's just quite bad that the most popular character in comics hasn't had a really exciting story in the comics for a decade.
Spider-Man, well, I agree. Like, Superior Spider-Man is a top 10 Spider-Man run. Highly recommend you guys check it out. But also, Spider-Man is written better outside of his main line. Like, he's written better in Hellfire Gala. He's written better in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 800, single of one-off issues. Jonathan Hickman's story, or one-off issue, was only 3 pages, was fantastic. It brilliantly answered the question of why does Peter Parker's life suck, and it said, hey, well, you choose to help fight for people. That's what's gonna happen. So but it does it in a poignant way and in an uplifting way, a hopeful way. He's written better outside of those, outside of his own main line. He's written better in Miles Morales, and Miles Morales, like, what was the average run by Salim Ahmed? Like, sorry, I don't mean to diss you, bro, but that run, outside of introducing, a new baby sister and an evil clone and another multiversal aspect to Miles, as if we haven't already gotten that before, it's all right. It's not bad. It's not good. It's there. Peter Parker is written better in that story arc than here. Like, I'll give you a funny quip. So Miles' evil clone, it's like an evil Ben Reilly for him. His name is Salim, and he's British, and so he's like he has like these these chav like knives and stuff, like, and he like stabs people. So Peter stops him, immediately figures out this isn't Miles, and he's like, so what's your name? Kilometers?
Oh, that's great. That's great.
You don't see that from the main, like, it's sad, bro. But we need to do a whole episode about that. Just our best Spider-Man comic book runs, like, We need to do that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
But we could talk about this forever. But you have work. I've kept you up late, and um, it's been more than an hour. Okay, editing is gonna be fun. But hey guys, this is the Invincibles. Before we log off, Ollie, what have you been reading? What have you been playing, watching this week? Any recommendations for anything?
I've got a recommendation for Doctor Who fans.
Okay.
So a friend of ours, called Reese Dell from England, he has created his very own sort of audio series that's sort of set in the world of Doctor Who. So if you're into Doctor Who, check that out. It's called The Bleak Walk Home by Dell Studios on Twitter. So that's what I've got today.
That's awesome. Link it. And, Reese is a fantastic writer, a good friend of ours. We can vouch for him. He does really good stuff. Check him out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my recommendation is, honestly, I've been reading a lot of Aquaman comic books lately, and I recently finished Aquaman Sub Diego. It's a trade paperback, Will Pfeiffer's run from the early 2000s, essentially, and this comic book run. Because anybody who doesn't know, and you guys will know by tuning into our podcast, I love Aquaman. He's my favorite character. I love Aquaman. I love Namor too, and I definitely prefer the MCU's angle for Namor than what DC did with Aquaman. But I love Aquaman. That was my guy when Injustice was out. Injustice 1, I learned every single of Aquaman move sets. I could win tournaments playing Injustice. That's how good I am with Aquaman, bro. Like, I love Aquaman. He's a great character. But in this story arc, it's really fresh because it changes up the world of Aquaman in such a fresh way. Because when you think of Aquaman, you always think of like regal old politics. You think of Greece. You think of Poseidon and all of that. Well, in this angle, in this story, it's in California, and the city of San Diego has sunk to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And are sunk to the ocean, and thousands of people died. And Aquaman is like tried to stop like this natural disaster, and he failed to do it, and he couldn't stop it. And every time he goes in the water, he just sees dead babies floating, and he sees like pandas from the zoo trying to swim up, but they can't. And like, it's this really somber and emotional and heartbreaking story, but how the story ends is so uplifting and powerful. And yeah, Aquaman, get him, Aquaman. Like, it's such a perfect angle from from darkness into light. It's beautifully written. It's such a poignantly written issue, and it is very deep and has a lot of what the movie was missing, in my opinion. It had that human element, that deep critical, philosophical, emotional angle that the movie was missing. But that's my recommendation. Definitely check out Aquaman Sub Diego, trade paperback 1 and 2. Fantastic stories, and hopefully we get some of that energy for Aquaman in the DCU.
Yes, that's all for today. Thanks very much for listening. Join us again next week. I've been Ollie.
I'm Zan.
And we're the Invincibles. There we go.
Tune in next week. Let us know on our Instagram poll. Let us know what topic do you guys want to see. Do you want to see a more comic booky type of issue or episode like Marvel, DC, Image, Invincible, stuff like that? Or do you guys want us to cover, Harry Potter and talk about Hogwarts Legacy and the news of, the original trio, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, coming back for a sequel or a trequel? Three more sequels, like a trilogy saga. Sorry, I can't speak, guys. But that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Vote in our poll and let us know.